This is a very, very important car for Mercedes. This car I have here is the all-new 2025 Mercedes CLA, and it's absolutely amazing. So on this windy and gloomy day, I'm going to be talking you through all the great and wonderful things this car has going on for it. If that sounds interesting, let's get started. The first thing you notice about this car, the looks. The looks of this car is not as polarizing as Mercedes' previous electric EQ lineup. It is not. This design works pretty well. Mercedes are going back to that classic Mercedes look that we always know and we've always loved. Not so much smooth lines and that bloated shape as we've had on its EQ lineup. This would be like what, the third generation of the CLA, or which is the newest generation of the CLA. It's electric. There's going to be a hybrid version which will be coming on later in the future. Now, starting from the exterior design of this car, this Mercedes I have here is the Mercedes 250 Plus. It's the CLA 250 Plus, and it's in AMG line. And so you have a more aggressive front and rear bumper, and also aggressive, design cues on the side of this car. This color is the metallic black, and it looks pretty nice. Now, in front of this car, it has a very beautiful headlight design, which I love. And of course, you have this light bar that spans in front of this car. Now, for something that is also interesting in front of this car, if I should just demonstrate. With the car unlocked, as you can see, this LED light does some sort of animation in front of this car, which is cool. I like that. The huge Mercedes logo here is lit, and these LED stars that are lit on this front panel or front grille of this car are 142. For real, I actually counted them, plus this huge one, 143. So you have 143 stars in front of this car that are lit. Interesting, right? So it still has that classic CLA look in front of this car. It's not as aggressive as the previous generation CLA. And that's, of course, because Mercedes have also tried to design this car to be as aerodynamic as possible to give you like good driving range of this car, which we'll get into later in this video. It has a very low drag coefficient of 0.21 CD. And that's impressive. And as some of y'all may already know, I have history with the Mercedes CLA. My previous daily driver was the Mercedes CLA 250 from 2015, and I really, really love that car. Now, talking about the design of this car from the side, the design of this car from the side is still recognizable as a CLA, which means it's coupe-like design, and of course, it's frameless windows. And by the way, this puppy door handles now works very, very well. Not like the previous generation where it was really, infuriating to operate them. This works pretty well. As easy as that. And they work. Now, like I said, it still has, the recognizable CLA coupe-like design. However, Mercedes are now calling this the CLA sedan, not a coupe. Now, before moving on to the rear design of this car, lest I forget to mention, Mercedes have given us something in this car that they haven't given us in their previous electric cars, and that is, if I should just demonstrate by a pull on the tab here in the driver's side door panel, Mercedes have now included a front trunk in its electric cars. This front trunk or front boot or fruit, whatever you decide to call it, is even decent sized in this Mercedes CLA. 100 liters. At least now you have where to place your charging cables. And lastly, before jumping into the interior of this car, because I really need to escape this really windy and frigid day, is the rear design of this car. You have this light bar here, which does sort of an animation when you unlock the car. And then you have your CLA 250 Plus badging. In terms of trunk space, this Mercedes CLA provides you about 400 liters of trunk space. The seats can also be folded flat. You cannot fold the seats from the trunk, and the folding can be done in a 40, 20, 40 folding configuration. The trunk is also power operated to close it. So yes, overall rear design of this car is not as exciting as in the front, albeit it works pretty well. Here are some important facts on this Mercedes CLA. This CLA is equipped with an 87 kilowatt hour of battery capacity. And in terms of charging, the NMC battery of this car can charge at a whopping 320 kilowatts. That will give you a battery percentage of 10 to 80% in 25 minutes. On full charge, this car promises a WLTP range of just under 500 miles. This car can give you almost 750 kilometers of driving range. This might just be the car that will steer a lot of people away from internal combustion engine. The battery technology in this car, or the battery cells in this car, are 20% more energy dense than Mercedes' previous lineup of EQ electric cars, which is great, honestly. The overall shape and size of this car, it's not all that big and it's not all that small. This car, in terms of overall length, is 4.7 meters in length, 2 meters in overall width, and 1.4 meters in overall height. Now let's jump into this car now. I'm cold. Okay, sitting in the back seat of this CLA 250, and it's a pretty nice place to be in. First thing you notice while sitting in the back of this car is this huge panoramic glass roof, and it extends all the way even to the back of my head. The panoramic glass does a great job in making this interior more airy because of the small rear windows, and it also provides me ample headroom. The front seat is in my perfect driving positions, and I am 187 centimeters in height, about 5'11", and I have, quite a small amount of legroom. Taller people would struggle in the rear of this car, especially if you notice it almost seems like I'm squatting, and that's because the seats are mounted in a really awkward way because the electric batteries are underneath the car, and because of the small nature of this car, the rear seats feels like you're almost squatting. There's no under thigh support, as you can see. I wouldn't want to sit in the back seat of this car as a full-grown adult for long journeys. However, in terms of interior and build quality, there's still high quality materials, just as in the front, in the rear seats of this car. That being said, let's hop into the front of this car and talk about a lot of interesting things that this car has going on for it in terms of technology. Okay, sitting in front seat of this car, the first thing you get to notice is all the tech and gadgets that's going on in the interior of this car. You have a number of screens in this car. Some options can be optioned out with a third passenger screen, but this option I have here just have 2 screens. This screen here is Mercedes Super Screen. It is the new MBUX system, which is in its 4th generation, or Mercedes calls this MBOS. I think, yes, they call it the MBOS. And this screen here is 14-inch in size, and the screen just right in front of the driver for the instruments cluster is 10.4-inch in size. But before getting into the technology in this car, I'd just like to touch on some few things that I love in the interior of this car. The center console here has been nicely designed. I like the aesthetics in the center console of this car, and of course you have these 2 cup holders with these metallic rims around it. It looks really classy, I must say. In terms of material quality in general, this interior is well put together. It's beautifully built. I love the steering wheel and how chunky the steering wheel feels to hold. Material quality in general, even the top of the dash is quite good, I must say. Even on the side doors, this suede material on the side of the doors. There are some scratchy plastic, but they are in lower parts of this interior, some of the places you never get to touch. The front seats are very, very configurable. I like how comfortable they are. The front seats are a bit firm, but I like how comfortable they are. I love this integrated headrest that can be adjusted forward and backwards. Really nice to have, adjustment in your headrest, not like some cars where you almost have to lean back before you can feel the headrest on the back of your head. There are only 2 switches to control the windows in this car. Mercedes have taken a page out of Volkswagen's book and included a rear button to control the rear passenger windows. I think at this point, I see why these car companies are doing this, not only just to cut down costs, but I feel like in cars like this or in small cars like this, taking the windows down are not really a thing, if you get what I mean. Also on the door panel, you have your seat control, which is quite, easy to reach. Mercedes have put in a lot of, time to craft the interior of this car. which I really, really like. Now let's talk about, in terms of practicality, you have two cup holders. You have this huge, center pocket here, which half of my arm can even go inside all the way to my elbow. That's quite huge. You have more storage space underneath the console here with two USB Type C and also like a strap to strap things down so that they don't, roll or rattle around. There's also a charging pad, an induction charging pad here. Now let's talk about the tech in this car. This might go on for a while, but trust me, it's going to be worth your time. But I need to talk about this issue I've experienced while using this infotainment screen. With the seats in my perfect driving position, and I fully stretch my arms or I fully stretch my finger, I rarely can touch the screen. To use the screen, I have to adjust, which I think is quite uncomfortable. I wish the screen was a bit angled towards the driver. That would have been more nicer to reach these controls, but it's just a bit far away. People with shorter arms or people who are not as tall as me might have a problem because this, I can't reach. Even the buttons here, okay, I have to adjust my body a little bit, but you can see what I mean. You get the point. You have this one panel here which controls some of the car's function. You can use that to pull up your dynamic select button. You can also use that button to, pull up the 360 camera of this car. This car is equipped with 360 degrees cameras and they are incredible. The 360 degree cameras in this car is just some of the best I have seen or I've used in recent times. It works so well. There's also a button to just, turn off the infotainment system or put it in cleaning mode, which is quite handy. And of course, your emergency button here. You have a button to pull up the Mercedes, assistant or the AI that is in this Mercedes. You have a mute button for a radio and you have a volume control, which is a touch slider. Now, back onto this touch screen. It's some of the best UI or, Mercedes UI is incredible, honestly. This screen is so snappy. I can almost feel no lag in this screen. It's so easy to use this screen while you are parked. It's a different story when you are driving. But then there are different menus in this screen. Every car functions can be accessed through this screen. From the ambient lighting, this car has, a huge number of ambient lighting, configuration, which is nice. I like that. You can, play around with the ambient lighting situation in this car. And I love the way the ambient lighting just lit almost every surface in this car. The doors, the surfaces, the lines here. Mercedes ambient lighting game is the best, honestly. Now in this screen also, I can pull up, different car functions. I can go into like parking information. I can pull up the park assist from the screen. Also in the menu of the screen, you have your Mercedes store, your radio settings, all the things that you would expect from this screen. Also in this screen, the first thing you notice that there is a huge camera or there is a camera that's situated at the center of this infotainment screen. Now, this camera serves a couple of purposes. This camera looks at your eyes while you're driving to make sure you're paying attention to the road. You can use this camera to, take a nice little selfie in the interior of this car. You can use this camera to make a Teams meeting in the interior of this car. I wonder how many people are going to use that feature. You can also pull up your charging menu, which gives you information about your battery and also gives you information about how many percentage and range you have left. That's quite handy. Now, if you notice, there's this Mercedes orb that just, hovers in the screen of this car. This is an AI that Mercedes have, ingrained into this car. This AI can do a lot of things for you. It can change the temperature, change the ambient lighting. It can navigate you to the nearest restaurant. In my use of this AI, it works very well. Now, your climate control settings can also be done through the screen. You pull up the climate menu and it gives you, different configurations for your climate control and also your heated seats. This car is also equipped with heated steering wheel and also has the memory settings for the powered seats in the screen of this car, which I think I would have preferred if there were buttons for the memory seats of this car, so it's easy for you to just push a button when someone different has driven this car. But hey, everything now is in this screen. I just remembered something I missed about this camera. Apart from you being able to take a selfie with this camera and do your Teams meeting on this camera also has facial recognition, so you can save all your car settings with your face. And when you get into the car and someone else has driven the car and messed around with your car settings, you can just recognize your face and put the car back into your own preferred settings. That's smart. This part can be optioned with a third passenger screen, which is the same size as this huge screen of 14 inches. for the passengers to entertain themselves. This car I have here is not optioned out with a third passenger screen, so you have these stars with LED lights, just lit in this panel here, and it kind of sounds quite hollow. Other things I love in the interior of this car are also this, turbine style air vents. I need to mention that even though they look metallic, this air vent is not metallic. They are quite plastic. I would have loved, some metal feeling on the rims of this air vent, but they look really good. Now let's jump into this driver instrument cluster, but we'll talk about that while we're driving. Okay, my first driving impression, or my driving impression of the all-new Mercedes CLA. The first thing I notice about this car is the way it drives. Um, One of the things that I appreciate about this car is it's not trying to be a sports car. It's not trying to be a sports car in any way. It doesn't even pretend to be one. But what it's great at doing is being comfortable to drive. It is comfortable to drive in terms of the way it just rides and glides over bumps smoothly. In terms of the way the steering responds to input, I would say it's a bit artificial. It feels a bit kind of a robbery, but then that could be because this car is driving on winter tires, and this car would be an excellent daily driver because of the ease on which this car allows you to operate it. You get into this car, there is no start or stop button. You put your foot on the brake, you put this car in drive or reverse, and it switches on by itself. Of course, there's a stop button on this lever here, but it's just there to switch off this car when you probably are at a standstill. Small things like this just makes this car a very, very easy car to live with. Now, in terms of the electric motors of this car, the electric motor is situated on the rear axle of this car, which is good because it makes the car a bit dynamic when you are going round corners or going round bends. The electric motor of this car delivers 268 horsepower and 350 newton meters of torque. Now, for the first time in a Mercedes, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's only the Porsche and of course the Audi e-tron that has a two-stage or two-speed electric gearbox. So this car also has a two-speed electric gearbox, and this helps in terms of range. So the electric gearbox kicks in at speeds of about 100 kilometers per hour, which is highway speed, which enables this car to be just a little more efficient in the way it drives. And that's why this car gives you this incredible amount of range. There's going to be a separate range test video, so be sure to subscribe to this channel and click on your notification so you don't miss that video. Now, this option I have here is just under 600,000 Swedish SEK. It comes in about 594,000 Swedish SEK with all the tech and gadgets that it has. And I think it makes a good proposition, honestly, for this car, especially at the price point of this car. So if you're like considering a new electric car or a very potent electric car with a lot of range, this car makes a very, very good case for itself. I think the numbers for this car in terms of range just speaks for it. Of course, there's a charm and there's a theater in the interior of this car with all this ambient lighting here and there. Just makes for a more pleasing driving experience. You can also change the ambient lighting with voice commands, or you can use Mercedes' new assistant system, and it understands a good number of commands that you give it, as I can just demonstrate. Hey Mercedes, change ambient lighting color to blue.
Okay.
And it does that pretty well. Now we have blue ambient lighting color. Pickup speed in this car is very, very responsive. I like the intuition and the way Mercedes have calibrated the accelerator and brake pedal. It's quite intuitive, honestly. And the way it delivers its power, it's quite good. There is no artificial, electric noise, except you punch the accelerator a bit and you get to hear like a subtle purr, if you just listen carefully. You can also change that sound, but I like that the sound is not intrusive. It doesn't just sound when you're driving the car at normal speed. It only comes up when you kind of accelerate really sharply. Even the two-speed gearbox in this car, when it kicks in, I don't really feel it. It's quite smooth when the second gear of the electric motors kicks in. And as time progresses, electric cars would require some form of like gear, technology or gearbox system to make them a little bit more efficient. Because I believe that the second gear, or adding a second gear to this electric motor, contributes to giving this car this insane range it has. And I'm glad the work that Mercedes have put into this car. Now, and also briefly on the instrument cluster of this Mercedes, there's a good amount of information that this instrument cluster gives you, and you can change between different views. One thing I noticed with this new system is I don't seem to be able to change, or this new system doesn't give you the ability to change the theme of this instrument panel or the theme of the infotainment system itself in general. But what you can do is swipe between different views of this driver's instrument display. You can expand the view to have just the full map displayed at your eye line. So navigation is quite easy in this car. It's almost like using your Google Maps while you drive. So yeah, as a daily driver, this electric car makes tons of sense. It's not it's not too big and it's not too small. The rear seats are a bit cramped, and this is just me nitpicking at this point because, of course, no car is perfect. But yeah, in final terms, as we have spent a lot of time talking about this new Mercedes CLA, I think it's a very great electric car, and it's simply amazing in my regards. So let's conclude the video, shall we? Now, to conclude this video on the review of this Mercedes CLA 250, this latest and greatest electric car from Mercedes, I'll go over some pros and cons, or I would say dope and not so dope things about this car. Now, the first dope thing about this car is the range. The range of this car is enough, or if not more than enough, for a lot of people. And big ups to Mercedes for going in this direction, not just cramming in a lot of power into the electric car, but rather concentrating on, making the cars have more range. The second dope thing about this car is the technology in this car. It's a very, very intuitive technology. I like the tech that is going on in this car. It kind of gives this car sort of a charm and personality to this car. The third is the price point of this car, which I think is quite competitive. This car is just under 600,000 Swedish SEK, and it makes a good proposition for people who are looking for an electric car that has a lot of range. Now, onto the downside of this car. And this one affects me personally, is the rear seating capacity of this car. The rear seats are not that comfortable in my regards. And second, the not so dope thing about this car is the way the infotainment system is positioned. And in my experience, as we just saw, it's kind of a stretch for me to use some of those infotainment buttons that are on the screen because of the way the infotainment system has been positioned. But other than that, I think this is a great package from Mercedes. If you're out in the market looking for a new electric car, this Mercedes CLA should be in your radar. Thank you guys for watching this channel. It means a lot to me. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. And also a huge thank you to Bilial Mercedes of Skellefteå for lending me this Mercedes CLA. They have a great inventory of cars. They also have great leasing and financing deals. But that's it for me in this one. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel and like this video. It helps me get cars like this. That's it for me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.